join us all. Today we're going to talk, well, actually, you know, I feel like since I'm from South Carolina, I can say hi, y'all, and with confidence. Today we're going to talk about pioneering the digital relationship, and I'm going to move to give you some sense of what our agenda is. I thought I would give us the world's briefest introduction, really a couple slides, that's it. We want to jump right into this and talk about the brand new world, or one of the ways, the way that we describe it is the new brand world that we're all living in. This presentation is going to have four parts, four components. The first is about defining the brand, building a destination site, getting found, and this is far and away the bulk of the presentation about getting found, and then finally putting everything together. There's a slide pause. I'll catch up with that. So Greenfield Belser has been at this for 30 years working with law firms, and about 6 years ago we put out this book, 25 Years of Legal Branding, which is a compilation of all the things that we've done. Still have copies available if people want to get their hands on one. Most important thing is, from our point of view, is that we didn't die after we put the book out, that we kept on working. Last year, or just this past spring, a couple of months ago, we swept the entire Your Honor Awards in the website category, which was really
another number to work.
Which is really thrilling to us. This is the second time that we had done that. It was also in 2009, so we were really pleased.
I'm going to be back.
Performance there. Did we tell folks to mute their phones? I've got somebody clicking into this presentation. And then finally, for those that are interested, we have a digital cookbook that was just published. Many of you may already have copies of it. The mailing went out a couple of weeks ago, so it should probably be on your desk. If you don't, just give us a holler. All right, so let's move right into this idea of a new brand world. I want to talk about some of the changes that have occurred over the past, really, it's 16 years since the web. The web is really an adolescent now, but the unfettered rise of digital has really brought about amazing shifts in behavior, and we'll talk about some of the research that we did surrounding that behavior. But the most important thing from our point of view, and your point of view, I believe, is that marketing and sales have changed. It's no longer a one-way assault, and although that, you know, we still create ads, direct mail, and you will never hear us urge people to abandon those traditional methods. They still work. They're still out there. They're still important. And for example, if you just look at your inbox, your mailbox these days, you'll find you've got very little mail in there. I noticed that it's been increasing lately now that the Great Recession seems to be behind us. People still value direct mail. But the most important thing is that it's now a two-way conversation. By the way, as we go through the presentation, a lot of some of what I'm going to be talking about may seem basic to some, but it's going to be a balance of basic and then really some advanced thinking about what's going on today. So hopefully there's something for everyone. So marketing and sales have changed. In other words, we're now building relationships with individuals without ever having actually met. You could have said we were doing that before, but we're even with direct mail and brochures, but now it's much closer to really connecting with the individual. And it's as if marketing, the impersonal setup, or what I always call the air cover for the ground troops in sales, which is the personal closer, now have a link in the middle, and that link is that digital relationship. So building digital relationships becomes a key marketing strategy. All of this is occurring because the media landscape, which are our sources of information and inspiration, is increasingly becoming fragmented and cluttered. So one of the things that's important to me is to try to always figure out a construct for the new world that we're living in. So we're constantly going back and saying, what are these changes? How have they changed our behavior, and what have they done to us in the way that we think and that we go about making decisions? One of the very first things that we were concerned about is how people buy services, and we're going to talk about that in just a sec. But that unified field theory is something that I really want to to come to a conclusion about it. And if you have any thoughts on it, call me. I'd love to know what you all are thinking in the same category. Well, we all know this, I believe, that there are tons of searches on Google every day, 3 billion. On 250 million websites and 152 million blogs. I've spent a lot of time actually looking for these numbers, and there's no real way that you could look all over the web and see that these numbers are, everybody's got different estimates, but the order of magnitude is important. I thought it was interesting to put in the number that were actually active. 7 million websites that are actually active and 15.5 million blogs that are actually active. So the universe seem a lot more manageable. I was at our beach house not long ago and looked up at the night sky, and I realized that world of blogs and world of websites really resembled that night sky. And it was almost impossible to think how people could find us when we're there in the midst of all of that. We know that buyers are looking for us, but how in the world can they find us? And really, the idea is that we need to magnify our radiance. We need to appear larger in that night sky, and we need to figure out how to go about doing that. So one of the questions that I want to ask in the midst of these facts is, why doesn't our leadership believe that what we're doing, what we're talking about today, is important? You may have some of you whose firm leaders actually believe that this is important, but we find that we're slogging uphill against tremendous resistance across the board. There's really two reasons for that. One is the lack of credible evidence of online buying behavior, and we have done research which proves that people are online. We have a lack of understanding about how to initiate an integrated strategic approach for today's choices. So it's not only is A, I don't believe it, but B, I don't really know where to start. I don't know the kind of things that I should do and what's really important, because I'm already overwhelmed. The lack of credible evidence, in spite of the fact that we've done this research, we still get this response from law firm leadership, which is, I'm not a fan of the facts. The facts can change, but my opinion will never change no matter what the facts are. And I love what Stephen Colbert says, because that's pretty much what we're up against for the most part when trying to deal with. So it's going to be a long haul before people finally believe that paying attention to digital media is really important. This was the research that we had done a year ago, which is called Digital Marketing 2010. You can download it right from our website. And there's a ton, it's chock-a-block with information, graphs, other information about what to do and in what order. What we're bringing you up to today, we're bringing you up to date with what changes have occurred really in the past year and a half since we launched that survey. We know, for example, just one highlighted piece, do you go online, this is our research question, do you go online to search for outside professionals to provide legal accounting consulting work for your company? And 3/4 of our respondents said they did. It's happening. People are going and looking for you online, and we've got tons of anecdotal stories that prove that. But if you've been successful for years working with a different kind of relationship building model, it's hard to change that model into something new. So we're looking at folks that are typing in, that are Googling a particular kind of service that's a sophisticated service, and they're finding that there are answers online. And the reason this happens is because when individuals have a list of their own, the assignment is important, the matter is important. People are going to amplify that list by going online and searching just to make sure they've covered their bases. Everybody does this. It's the way you behave too. Don't think buyers of legal services behave any differently. So if this is true, and we really believe it is, and we've proven that it is, how do I respond? How do I adjust my marketing? Well, some things have changed, remain the same. First of all, we know that a single marketing channel has never worked and never will. Research shows that we need somewhere between 7 or 8 different marketing channels, that is to say, a speech, a a direct mail promotion, meeting somebody individually, all of these different channels in order for someone to believe that this organization is real, that the organization has credibility, and that they might be someone that I'd want to work with. Developing a relationship with a professional service is hard, so it requires multiple channels. So there's not only one answer. The website, for many years, was regarded as the magic bullet for all of marketing. We now know, of course, that's not true, never was true. But most importantly, the individual requires many points of entrance, but more importantly, not everyone hears it the same way, or it doesn't resonate with everyone according to different in the same channel. That's why multiple channels are important. So, we see that search is trending online. You still must leverage your investment across multiple channels, but now that distribution strategy must include the digital middle, I'm calling it the middle link for now, to amplify your message. So what we really want to create today is not a single star, but a constellation. And the constellation is really the way to look at this and look at all of your marketing activities. I need to hit people from many different directions. And if you think of it as an organized constellation, you realize, okay, I can do this. I can create a disciplined approach to our marketing, and particularly our online marketing. We're going to talk about how to help you do that as we get into this presentation, take some of the pressure off you. And I hope your questions will come to us about, they can be about blogging, about SEO, about any of these things. There's just so much information, and I want to speak directly to what you have on your mind. So just as we quickly go through this step one, and this is all I'm going to say about this, it's critical to define the brand, its personality, key messages across all media. That's the one thing you can control. So if your brand is out of control right now, then and it's not been defined, then there's no point in doing all this other stuff. It's just, that's a waste of time. You really won't have a memorable moment. The next step is to build a destination website. Your website, in spite of the fact that things are going mobile, and going mobile really, really quickly, your website is still your most important marketing tool. And I believe, put it this way, my vision of the future doesn't take me away from that. I believe that your website still will be your core marketing tool. But if people have no reason, when people get there, they don't understand why they're there, then that's a big challenge. Some of you may have seen this image that we created. We did an actual census of the AMLOP 250 websites and reconstructed a typical law firm website, kind of like building Proto-Indo-European out of a few word fragments, and created this typical site, which most of the sites share. Logo up at the upper left, no problem there. A string of navigation across the top that's undifferentiated, and a picture now that used to be a bunch of guys, and now we've got some gals coming into the equation. Some sort of tagline that says you can trust us. And then the most shocking part, in 3 columns across the bottom, welcome to us, read some news about us, and more things about us. So it's not at all client-centered. It's me, me, me. We call those gorillograms. It's me, 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 me. This is not going to be an effective destination site. I'm not going to understand why I should even be there. And if I don't understand why I'm there, we know that between 5 and 8 seconds, they're going to bounce away and head to another site where they do believe they're being heard. So it is critical to develop a brand and then spread that brand across all platforms. If your site hasn't gone mobile, really effectively, that is designed for being. It does not need to be an app, but it does need to be a mobile website, and you need to put that somewhere near the top of your agenda in order to have people experience your site mobilely as effectively as the experience is on the desktop. So I want to share with you a few rules here that we believe are critical for all communications. And if you remember that prototypical website, you'll see that they are doing that. Apply this to all of your communications. your own website and all of the materials that you do? Have you designed around business goals? Have you positioned yourself as important, confident, and a leader? You think everybody would want to do that automatically, but in fact, there's no evidence when I look at most websites and marketing materials that people have gone to that effort at all. Preview what it's like to work with you, and that comes directly from the idea that we're no longer in a one-way blast here. We're in a two-way conversation, and part of that conversation means that I need to understand who you are. And therefore, I want to encourage dialogue and then humanize the offering as well. So this is people to people, no matter what. At the end of the day, it's one-to-one conversation that we're having. It's one buyer buying one individual. When people say, I buy lawyers, not law firms, they're responding to, they're talking about that last moment in the sale. That's not, we don't need to be tricked by that in our marketing efforts. People do buy law firms, and people do require the law firm's resources and capabilities and offices, etc. But ultimately, it's a relationship with an individual. Tell stories and deliver proof. There's something about human beings that demands that we tell stories, and we're going to see that's really critical as we talk about blogging and we talk about Twitter. Use words. This is a bit of hyperbole, but I mean it, and I really encourage you to think this way. Use words as a last resort. Instead, use charts, maps, tables, diagrams to deliver substantive content, and you'll find yourself with more readers than you have now. So, the next step is really where we're going to spend most of our time, and that's on getting found. We're going to talk about organic search, pay-per-click, and social media. So, organic search is search engine optimization. It's the defined process of improving the volume or quality of web traffic to your site from search engines. Yeah, Google owns the field, but you can't ignore Yahoo and Bing. Now, it's getting results via natural or organic unpaid search results. And so somebody types in employment discrimination on the left-hand side. Those are your organic search results. Why do you care? Well, because 90% of clicks head towards organic search. That means, if you do the math really easily, you will be able to see what the paid search gets. But it's important to understand that 90% of clicks go to organic search. And then next, that the top three gain the lion's share of the clicks across the board. I thought this was interesting to compare this to prior research that had been done by Reese and Trout on positioning, and that typically across most product and service categories, first place gets 45%, second place gets 30% of market share, third place gets 15%, and everyone else is duking it out for the final 10% of market share. It's very different on the web. But look how close that first number is to first place in offline research results. So having a high ranking is critically important for improving your web traffic. Now, I'm not going to talk a ton about Google. I'm not even going to talk a ton about SEO. This is the discussion that really makes me put my head down on the table and cry, because it's so complicated and it's endlessly changing. And I want to leave you certainly with this important message: Google changes its algorithm 300 to 500 times a year. Think you're going to get ahead of it? I don't think so. The most massive change occurred in February through March, really. It's called the Panda Pharma update. You probably were reading about JCPenney and the trouble that it got into by using inbound links and link farms to improve it, to get its rankings across 20 or 25 product categories at the top 1 or 2 spots. Recently, 1-800-Flowers gets in trouble for a similar kind of thing. Google responds to that stuff. They hate it when people try to game the system. So we want to look at another detail from the research that we had done, that as you're working through your search engine optimization, it's critical to understand your audience. And your audience, the most important thing probably to know about your audience is that half of them and more search for specific expertise and industry. And specific expertise goes back and forth with industry, but organizing yourselves in industry groups, we're beginning to get the hang of it. We know that the big four have been doing this, and real large accounting firms have been doing this forever. They're smart. It's tough, I know, to convince people to sell by industry, but selling by industry is far and away the most effective way to speak directly to your client. All right. This is search engine optimization, a disciplined and labor-intensive process. There's no getting around it. First thing to do is to set goals and expectations to develop keyword search strategy, what you can and should be known for, that matches your brand. We assume you have a brand. Provide accessible, quality, unique content to match that. So when I go and I get my search results, everybody wants to be high on that list. And I just want to, this is a message you need to give to the managing partner. Yeah, you'd like to be on the front page of the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times every day, but it ain't going to happen. So you need to measure your expectations against what's real. You're going to find yourself tracking higher and then trending lower on a day-to-day basis, and there's really nothing to be done about that except as aggressive a strategy as you possibly can for search engine optimization. Remember, 90% of clicks, we've seen search is trending online. Hold that thought. 90% of clicks occur through organic search. Hold that thought. Then realize, gosh, I should pay attention to search engine optimization if I haven't yet. Okay. Other things to do, optimize your site structure. And I'm going to tell you just quickly what still matters. We could talk about this all day long. We flew in a fellow from California recently to spend an entire day with us. So we spent 8 hours on the most contemporary trends and strategies in search engine optimization. This still matters. Your sitemap. Submitting your sitemap to Google and other search engines. Title tags are still important, particularly H1 title tags. If it's Greek, don't worry about it. Friendly URL, so it's not a string from a database query that the result is back, but a human being can read and understand it. Page load time, less than 0.75 seconds is pretty much the page load time where a spider says, okay, I'm happy with this site. Not everything needs to load, by the way, but most things need to load. Keyword density is still important, although, be real. The goal is not to write litigation 57 times. That's not it. It's got to be in English, but density matters. Clean code is huge. Having a really good code versus, I'm going to leave it at that. You want your site to be crawlable from end to end, and no dead ends, no broken links, no 404 error messages, etc. All of this stuff is called on-page SEO. Once again, I said this could go on forever. It is important to build inbound links. One of the things that this Panda Pharma update did in response to the JCPenney and 1-800-Flowers said, I want quality. I don't want quantity. So those of you that are packing your links with somebody who's selling flowers in Pensacola, it's not going to help you. You need quality links from trusted sources. So the ABA is a great link to have. The New York Times is a great link. The Wall Street Journal, etc. Those are important for SEO purposes. If you're going to work on your search engine optimization, at the very least, start local. 20% of buyers are looking for local businesses to help them. There's still a prejudice about being local versus going regional or national. Start local, then go regional, and then scale nationally to your work. So that makes it manageable, and it allows you to bring this whole idea under control. And then report, refine, and test. And then, by the way, after that, report, refine, test. It's rinse and repeat everywhere we go. Okay. So we don't have time for an exhaustive list of do's and don'ts, but I want to leave you with this. Don't try to trick Google. Don't waste your time. The consequences are terrible. If you get removed from the search results for Google, then you'll be stunned at its impact on your marketing. So at the very least, know what is clearly black hat, hidden words, these kinds of strategies. At the very least, know so that when you're dealing with an SEO vendor, because you're not going to do this yourself, you just shouldn't, because you can't keep up with what's going on the changes. Even if you can have a person, a full-time manager, but by heavens, you can't have somebody doing it alone in your shop and think that you've covered search engine optimization. It's not going to happen. Okay, pay-per-click. This is the second of the three ways that we get found. So search engine marketing is the practice of buying paid search listings. Google owns 92% of AdWords market share and 70% of search share. But buyers must also pay attention to Yahoo and Bing. You simply need to manage all three of those. There are things that Yahoo does well that Bing does well. Remember this, I'm searching for employment discrimination. The paid clicks are, the paid search results are those on the right. And if you pay enough and you work your way up to the top, you can be in the left-hand column that's either slightly shaded and it's sometimes, depending upon Google's mood, may not be shaded. So you can find your way up to that first space, 10% of clicks. Now, 10% of clicks, that's nothing. Well, I'm sorry, Google bills a multi-billion-dollar market cap based on 10% of clicks. It must be something. People must use them, and they must be effective or they wouldn't appear. So, when we did our research most recently, Digital Marketing 2010, we found that 81.5% of searches for professionals are branded searches. Now, branded searches means I type in your law firm, I type in Hunt & Williams, I type in Alston & Bird, and I get then that search there. So most of the searches are branded, which, by the way, reflects our earlier research that we had done before the web even existed, which said that 85% of the calls that you get into your firm come from people who are calling you directly because they've heard of you. So that's the way this activity occurs. So we're going to find 4 out of 5 times, use the 80-20 rule, we're going to find 4 out of 5 times that your own marketing, your own relationships are prompting the calls into the firm. However, a going concern and a thriving, profitable concern demands that the last 20%, 15 to 20%, be aggressively marketed to, because those are where your new clients come from when your old clients go away. All right. The goal for paid search is to obviously intercept relevant searches with targeted paid search. Now, this particular example, you see healthcare lawyer, and you've got healthcare lawyers that are right here. Responding to that query. So this is it. This is how this works at its simplest. But we'll find that we can actually move ourselves up and down the scale. Now, by paying attention to different kinds of events, like news events, etc. We'll talk about this in a second. It is important that when somebody comes to your site, by the way, that they're greeted with what we call an open hand online. What they search for should match what they find on your site. So here's an example where somebody searched for intellectual property lawyer, and we have intellectual property. I hope you can see this on the paid search, and they took them to an internet trademark infringement page. So the reader feels a disconnect that's going on there. They need to connect so that when we're taking them to the right page. And by the way, there are more searches now. When people go to your site, they are more likely to go not to your home page, but to some specific page into the site itself. So we often describe website design, we see it, as people have a great home page, and then once they get off the home page, the site design falls to hell, and it's like Thelma and Louise driving off a cliff. suddenly there's no more interest, no more personality, no more nothing on the website like this one here on international trademark infringement, and so there's no real sense of being confident, important, and a leader, no more communication, no dialogue. None of that's happening on these pages that are further into the website. You've got to fix that. You've got to think more holistically about your site in response to how people are actually behaving. So we want to, one of the things that you can also do in your search engine marketing or your pay-per-click is adjust for breaking news, or you're simply going to miss the opportunity. So when the health bill is all under discussion, I would assume that everybody who had a pay-per-click campaign responded on a daily basis to what the news was about and changed their keywords to respond to the news. This is how you use pay-per-click effectively. You ramp up and ramp down on a daily basis. Here's an example where someone goes to Bio. You can sort of see this Bio 2010 out here, and they've ramped up their pay-per-click during the days that Bio was going on in order to create a significant bump in their traffic during that period. That's how to use this effectively. I guess some of people think they can do this in-house, but to really be done well, it's a different level of challenge. Obviously, critical is to track. It's refine, report again and again, rinse and repeat. Track what's going on, know what's going on a weekly basis. When we work, we actually work. We work ourselves and then work with others outside who are tracking this stuff for Greenfield Belzer and those of our clients on a daily basis, because we simply don't have the time or the resources. So this is also a disciplined process. Set goals and expectations, develop keyword spend to support your strategic goals, coordinate with other online and offline activities, advertising events, website blogs, etc. Be relevant, dial campaigns up or down during key events, breaking news to intercept qualified traffic, for example. Watch weekly, report monthly, examine quarterly in order to optimize your response. Keep an eye out for something that's going wrong, because things go wrong, links break. Report, refine, and test again. All right, social media. Maybe many of you thought we were going to spend all of our time on this. Social media is one aspect of what we're doing and is increasingly an important aspect of marketing. It's often associated with the gated communities like Facebook or LinkedIn. But blogs are also social, and websites, as we're and others are designing them, encourage reviews and comments. They're social too. In other words, the internet itself has become a social medium. And it's hard to step back and think, oh, well, my website just sits there. Well, hopefully your website doesn't sit there. It's responding, even if it's not responding in a dialogue, there's a kind of dialogue that goes on with how frequently you update or the news that you decide to push forward. So, some late-breaking research from HubSpot. Social media helps B2B marketers improve search results, driving inbound links, increasing page rank, and influencing organic SEO as well as keyword purchases. More than a third of the social marketers say that social media helps them get found online, generating sales, cutting down on marketing costs. These numbers look small, but they're going to be significant. Market my business to customers, increase the exposure of my business. Everybody gets that. Companies that blog, for example, have 55% more web visitors. We now know that we get more visitors from our social media activities than we do from our search engine marketing pay-per-click as well as organic search. So it's shifted dramatically. Those that blog generate 67% more leads per month than those who do not. We're going to talk about how to blog. So why? And blog or tweet or post on your wall? Well, if we're calling this the middle link, you want to build that middle link of your marketing strategy by giving faces and voices to your talent that will improve your organic search results, establish your individual team or firm expertise. Done smartly, this does not have to be a gigantic time suck, but it will suck a little. and it does take time. It becomes, I will tell you, in our shop, it has become kind of like breathing. It's very, very natural. We've gotten smart about each individual, about the time that it takes them to blog and how to blog intelligently so that you don't think that you have to write a tome every time you put something online. So, the real challenge is to treat social media as a single unified thing. Facebook, Twitter, your blogs are all now interconnected, feeding on one another, so you're using Hootsuite or other websites to manage that entire online social media. Make certain that you're doing that. Your goal, of course, is expertise, but shortly behind that is personality, because you could be the most expert person in the world, but if you're boring, nobody's going to read what you have to say. So you have to write well, or at least write with some personality that makes someone want to read you again. Frequency, of course, is critical. If you wrote once and then 2 months later you post again, well, who's going to remember who you are? And who's going to remember what you had to say? So in order to gain traction and realize these goals, this has to be a regular activity. So, just looking quickly at Facebook, this is what kind of typical law firm Facebook looks like with J. Much. But it's interesting that last year Facebook passed Google in terms of search results 3 times.
Do I need to go through those now? Are you waiting for me?
I do want to start calling today.
All right, LinkedIn is considered a little bit more professional, but we see that the lines are blurring and that I'm getting more and more requests for people to join my Facebook page who I might be more comfortable with, for example, on my LinkedIn page. And Twitter, of course, is a microblog that allows only 140 characters per comment, and people gather in groups using hashtags. So this is just the basics about that. Some ideas, however, about how to blog creatively: show a human face, be personable, approachable, and along the same lines, do not write anonymously. Imagine a reader and write to that individual. Tell stories, particularly ones that don't automatically have a publisher. For example, how we won that case. You may not find the American Lawyer wants to publish that, but it could be a great story and somebody's going to be interested, particularly a client. Posting a press release or excerpts from your brochures is not blogging. I hope I didn't have to say that. Posting a retweeting a link without comment isn't blogging or tweeting either. What did you think about it? What did you think about the article? What did you think about the link? Different practices should maintain different blogs. Be certain your brand identity is consistent across all platforms, including mobile. Design those pages to the degree that you can. If someone comments, respond, be internet friendly. And too few of us do this. We're working on this ourselves. If you like others, they'll like you. Retweet your buddies. Comment on the posts of others. Be a follower and a friend. Okay, give your social media regular care and feeding. People subscribe via a news feed. Put together an editorial calendar and post it. That'll get some discipline and backbone in the process. Rotate authors. Consider regular columnists. Flex for breaking news and industry events. We talked about earlier with SEM. Do the same with your blog post. Technically speaking, blog your domain. Blog on your domain. So we're at Typepad, or we're at a different place. A lot of people use AMLA and other sources for their blogs. Don't put them on your site. Put them on your domain, and you'll get the results. Use keywords in posts, tweets, and title tags. All right. So if your title is out, if you're putting a title to your blog post, make sure you've got your keywords close at hand so that the title or the text, or preferably both, are referencing those keywords. This really does affect your search engine optimization. They should be keyword rich. Integrate your blog, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter accounts with your marketing activities. So if you're putting something offline, publishing something offline, put it on online. If you're emailing, make sure that it's posted on all these different places. Highlight social media on your homepage with call-outs and feeds. we're going back in increasingly to client websites and putting those feeds on those sites that we design. Add links to recent posts in your email signatures, and let your blog serve as your social media hub for your Twitter profile page, Facebook page, newsletters, etc. Make sharing easy. Email is still the dominant way that people share information in the B2B space. And then finally, market your marketing. Broadcast your messages. Let people know you have a blog and add it to blog directories. Share your thoughts with others interested in similar topics. That's why it's called social media. Contribute and comment on other blogs. Which ones? Fish where the fish are. Know what your clients read and then blog on those. And as with all good marketing, include specific calls to action like comment, download, or subscribe. All right, not everybody even gets allowed to blog at their firm or tweet, but it is important, and it's important even for management to be brave. You will survive. Clearly post your commenting guidelines and delete the flamers, but don't delete those that only disagree with you. You can also make comments non-public until you've achieved a critical mass, and of course, use common courtesy and respond. All right, so we have a few minutes. I'm going to try to put this all together quickly and hopefully get some time. We will get time for questions, but I just want to jam this together as a single idea. This is a media planning checklist that we use that goes down. It goes on and on. It's about twice that long. Of things that you need to know. This is available. We're happy to email it to anybody who wants it. So here's a scenario. I want to enter a new geographic market that's also a new industry for the firm. For example, we just merged with a new office that has a major healthcare practice, or we just acquired a new healthcare practice where we have a relatively new office. How do I go about doing that? Well, one strategy, and a smart strategy. Remember, we're talking about intellectual thought leadership. We're talking about having people know who our experts are. We'll own an event. Own an event to build awareness, interest, and enthusiasm of the firm's new location and practice before, during, and long after the event. So we're going to try to create pre-event buzz, engage during the event, and continue the dialogue afterwards. Now, if we look at our typical offline promotion, it's pretty episodic, and it's got a precipitous drop post-event. So what we'll do, we'll save the date postcard, then we have an invitation with another postcard or an email that lets people know, hey, guys, coming up. And then we'll have the event, and we'll network probably without a script and only so-so at the event itself to be followed by follow-up calls that may never be made. So this is pretty much what goes on in most of the seminars and events. And some of you, I'm sure, are saying, boy, I've got a better system than that. I've got my guys trained. Great. That's terrific. Not everybody does. So what we're finding is that the event spent on the promotion rarely matches the time and investment and the cost of the event. So I might put something on my website that I've got an upcoming event. Our general rule of thumb is to, whatever money it costs you to put the event on, spend that money promoting it. So if it's $50,000 putting it on, spend $50,000 promoting the event. Otherwise, it's frankly really not worth doing. So let's take a look at some other ways that we're going to start this and manage this whole event. First of all, we're going to continue to use our traditional channels. So it makes sense. So if I'm in this new office in California, it's got a healthcare practice in it, I'm going to go to my industry publications, the verticals like Modern Healthcare. I'm going to use the Sacramento Business Journal to promote my Sacramento lawyers, and the San Francisco Chronicle as well. By the way, I wanted to make this point. This is also in the last research that we did. The people that are wondering that would say, oh, I don't pay any attention to web or direct mail. So we had 2/3 of our respondents to our research had their curiosity piqued by a news article, and they went to the firm's website. 70% went to the firm's website. 59% saw research sponsored by the firm and went there. 57% received a newsletter, email alert from the firm and remembered it, got information about unfamiliar service or practice area, over half. Received a promotional mailing from the firm, over 50%. So they're responding to what you want them to do. They're going and looking at your firm, they're finding more information about you, and this traditional format still works. Don't abandon it. I want to make just a point about this, a small point, is that the top 4 are really informational. In other words, that's your expertise. And the bottom 4 are pure promotional, and yet they still got a significant response from respondents. All right, so here's how we're going to change this. We're going to use digital tactics to amplify the pre-event buzz. We're going to put that link on our website, good. Then we're going to post on association and member sites that we're going to be there, and we're going to join the dialogue, join the conversation about what's happening and coming up at the particular site. We're going to create a microsite, or at the very least a page, that's got unique content specific to that event that's occurring. Then we're going to track our AdWords and build AdWords around the event, so the event's coming up and people type in, for example, bio. That was our earlier example. We're going to type that in, or in this particular case, healthcare might be an event in California, or it could be an event anywhere, frankly, and we're going to wrap up our search engine, our pay-per-click around that. We're going to post everything, all of our participation on all of our social networks. And when we get to the event, we're really going to do it up. We're going to have updates via social networks and blog posts during the event, document the event with content polls, photos, podcasts, interviews, so many ways of doing that, and creating a presence at the event itself. Creating a long tail of the post-event so we don't have that precipitous drop-off. We'll continue the conversation on the microsite and via email with drive-to-site marketing. We'll have webinars based on specific event content where we can take what we learned there and use that to continue the conversation and updates via social media and blog posts so that we can really continue that conversation going on. So that's one way of looking at all of the things that you can do using social media to make a big difference. It is that constellation that you're looking for. You can find a lot of this in our the latest book, the digital cookbook, that tells you how to really utilize all of these different strategies. And I'm powering through that because I know that we're closing in on time, and I do want time to take questions, and I hope we have questions.
Mm-hmm. We do. The first question is, did you see the post on LMA Connect by Ross Fishman about the recent court ruling regarding PPC campaigns? How do you feel about bidding on competitor firm names?
Well, I didn't see Ross's quote. I'm sure it's got as much personality. Ross is a very funny guy. However, I did sit 2 weeks ago in Memphis on a panel on marketing for the ABA Committee on Professional Responsibility and Ethics, and it is interesting that the rulings, whatever comes out of the courts, is not necessarily being reflected in individual behavior. So I can't answer. That's a whole another discussion, and I'm sorry because I don't know exactly what he was commenting on. I don't know how to respond to that, except to say that on this particular panel, and this, by the way, will be redone as a webinar in August. In this particular panel, there was somebody from the Florida bar and 2 other people, First Amendment lawyers, who were really quite excellent, and then me from the marketing side. And what we learned is that there are a lot of people who ignore all of the rules altogether and are none the worse for it. That's not advice. That's simply to suggest that enforcing this trafficking in these kinds of things like blog posts and the like are really up for grabs. Best way I can say it.
Okay. We have one more question. Can you talk more about how to create both LinkedIn and Facebook pages for the firm?
Well, honestly, if you go to LinkedIn and go to Facebook and ask them and read the instructions, it's pretty doggone simple. Teresa, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean,
Sure. I guess part of the question is doing this for your attorneys versus doing this also for your actual firm. Those are two different strategies, different ways for people to get connected to your site. But one main point to make is that everything is consistent. So your attorneys are linking back to your firm's page and giving your firm credit, and as well having your firm page stay up to date using events or recent news, and also linking back to your firm's website.
I didn't mean to dismiss the question. We have gotten that question before, and in fact, we can go and extract the procedure for setting up a firm-wide website and make it available to everyone on this call. More than happy to do that.
Sure. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about the increase in video on websites, because we're seeing a huge explosion there.
Yes, and it's absolutely the fastest growing part of every website. We're seeing video show up beyond the home page and beyond the career page onto individual attorney page, as well as practice area pages, for example. And the sequence would be this: home page, career, or perhaps really career pages. Then we're seeing it bounce to, now we're seeing a lot of video home pages. Then we're going to practice areas. And in practice areas, I've probably got the practice area leader or leaders talking about the nature of the practice. Then we're going to individual lawyers and having those individuals talk about their practice and what they do. What is critical in this entire shift, and it's a rapid shift, it's blazing fast, it's happening as quickly as the shift to mobile, and that's because really we're no longer thinking of the website as static and static content. We're really seeing I'm judging the Web Marketing Association Awards this year for the third year, and we just recently talked about trends, and one of those trends was the rapid onslaught of video. One of the things that all of the judges commented on, however, was how awful the video typically is. A talking head in front of, at their desk in front of law books. Horrible. Stop. Don't do that. Have a concept before you start, even if it's a concept that is a stylistic one and not necessarily content-driven, but have something that makes it bearable to watch. There are so many sites where I see 7-minute videos of how wonderful it is to work at, I don't know, name it, Ropes and Gray, and it's just, it breaks your heart. No one's going to watch any of this stuff. But yes, do video. It really does mean that your site will reflect what's going on worldwide, web-wise.
Right, and just to add on to that, definitely video is becoming so much more prominent now, and is actually a great way to help your search engine optimization efforts as well.
Yes, good one.
Yeah. I think that was about all the questions. Does anyone else on the phone have anything they want to chime in?
Yes, I do. I'm just wondering if we get a copy of the presentation.
Yes, our presentation will be available on YouTube, on our page, youtube.com/GreenfieldBelser, and we'll also send that around to all of the guests on the call today.